Down South isn't your straightforward action game. It's a game that wants you to sit with the weight of your actions. It's a bold thesis, especially for a genre that often sticks to the comfortable middle lane of retro nostalgia. Down South, by contrast, feels eager to carve its own path, in looks, sound, and even in the way its mechanics stitch together. It's a rock-solid platformer, but it's reaching for more. Down South sits alongside modern trailblazers like Anton Blast, Boom Buster, and Pizza Tower in pushing what an obstacle course action game can be, and goes a step further by layering in genuine RPG texture, where choice and consequence are part of the momentum. In Down South, your decisions don't just branch the story, but change who you are. Stepping into the sneakers of South, a purple-skinned bean bouncing through the dense city sprawler love box, it becomes clear early on that your morality will be tested as often as your movement skills. Crucially, this isn't a vague good versus evil seasoning, it's a push-pull between playing it safe versus doing the right thing. The hook is that these choices affect your sanity, and your sanity in turn affects how you play. Take the path of kindness, and South becomes more colourful on the sprite sheet and seemingly sprightlier in motion. Start leaning darker, and that colour drains away, nudging him towards something more blunt and combative. That full transformation is something the complete game will have to deliver on, but even in this vertical slice, there's already a lot to like. Down South is currently looking for support on Kickstarter, with the campaign running until March 17, 2026. This first chapter demo already shows a ton of promise, and you can try it right now to see if it clicks for you too. But I'd like to dig into what impressed me most about TroopSushi's latest. My first impression was just how great it all looks. The team wears their influences proudly, citing Rayman, Katana Zero, and Undertale as touchpoints, and you can feel that blend in the game's whole vibe. The sprite work is genuinely great, with character designs that go beyond the usual cute critters into these abstract but lovingly detailed city flora. They have those sharp edges you'd associate with Johnny Vasquez's Invader Zim, and that early Newgrounds strain of weirdness. That latter point is cemented by a cool cameo that I won't spoil here. And because it's an RPG, you spend a lot of time chatting with the cast, and that morality angle gives them more edge than your standard NPC billboard. Some of them don't just chat to South, they actively try to use them, and that adds a nice bite to every interaction. But the real standout so far is the world design. Lovebox and its surrounding spaces are an urban dystopia built out of inky blacks and compressed textures. It blurs the line between hand-drawn grime and borrowed photography and gives Down South a strong visual identity in a genre that so often defaults to green hills and pastel plains. It's also incredibly functional. That contrast between colourful characters and harsher environments does something really important at speed. It helps you pass what matters. Interactive elements pop, and the route forward is always legible. It's the kind of world you want to sink into, riffing on real-world urban sprawl and the lived-in sci-fi grit of something like Ghost in the Shell. You've got subways packed with downtrodden planters trying to get home, and seedy back-alley shops where you can practically smell the patchouli in the air. And just like the real world, the compressed buildings and narrow runs also make for appealing urban exploration. It might read like a literal hellscape at first glance, but it doesn't take long to see why the characters stay. They've made it home. The music is a perfect match for his visual vibes, an almost DJ Shadow-esque spin on orchestral turntablism that suits the game's mid-2000s graffiti culture energy. It's surprisingly chill, great for the RPG exploration and character chatter sections, and an even better counterweight to the faster platforming runs. As a pure art piece, Down South is genuinely impressive to take in. Plenty of games have nodded to that mid-2000s bling era, the vibe you associate with EA Street series, the PSP's early marketing, or even Mark Echo's Getting Up, but most stop at stylized menus and heads-up displays. Down South commits to it fully, woven even into how the game plays. The platforming itself constantly shifts between rollercoaster momentum and tighter, more vertical sequences that ask for wall kicks. In the demo, it all felt surprisingly effortless to get into, especially on keyboard and mouse, the setup I tested, though controller support is also there for anyone who wants the more traditional platformer feel. Combat is interesting too. At first, you've got a simple slap, less about brute force, more about keeping your flow, especially when you're extending momentum through the air, but before long you unlock an ability that lets South toy with the environment without bringing the pace to a crawl, and it reminded me of that 32-bit era moment where platformers started rebelling not just in looks but also mechanics, folding in new ideas as the genre figured out what it could be beyond just run and jump. And when Down South shifts into his boss encounters, that extra layer really gets to shine. These fights are where the game's systems feel the most purposeful, both in how the mechanics get pushed and in how that morality angle is woven in, turning big set pieces into something that feel more personal than just a health bar at the end of a level. At this stage, Down South already feels like it's reaching for something more than just being a good platformer with a cool look. Its real hook is that morality feedback loop. You make a call, and that call changes you. The developer didn't cite it, but the idea of a morally morphable platforming hero navigating a trash heap dystopia immediately brought Epic Mickey to mind. Underrated but excellent, and built on a similar your choices shape your tools philosophy. If the full campaign of Down South can keep that connection between story and mechanics meaningful, rather than letting morality turn into a side menu, this will be as good as our best modern platformers. As someone who will always champion new twists on old genres, Down South has quickly become one of my favourite recent additions to a growing canon of punk-spirited platformers. Games that ditch the familiar retro look, sound, and even some of the usual mechanics while keeping that rock-solid core intact. I really want to give it the best possible chance to thrive, and that depends on the support it can pull in. I've already done my part, and hopefully you can too. If you give the demo a spin, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like what TroopSushi are building, consider backing Down South to help get the full release over the line.